Hello and welcome to our first workshop for this course on presenting a text. Now, we'll begin with a few expectations. When you arrive at the GSD, you will find that you are asked to present text very often. Today's workshop is intended to help you prepare for this. You'll be asked to present one reading in this course, which will be about a 15 to 20 minute presentation. You will be hopefully in groups of two, but there will be some odd numbers probably, so there will be some people working on their own. And then you will be responsible for fostering a discussion at the end of your presentation. So this could be offering questions, doing an activity, showing photos or other case studies, or adding extra context which was not given in the article that you're presenting. So we're going to discuss different ways that you can approach a presentation. We will look at context, key concepts, examples, methodology, and leading a discussion. So in terms of context, we're interested in several things, but one of the key things that we will focus on will be the author. Who are they? What is their background? What are their interests, their motivations? What discipline do they come from? Where is the location that they are based? And also, which location are they discussing? What is the date that they're writing in? And what is the date that they are writing about? Now, every paper has some reason for existing. And this is what we really want to get to the core of when we're presenting a paper. In order to do that, we will discuss the terminology that they use. Have they invented new terminology? Are they trying to change the meaning of something? We're going to talk about the key arguments that they put forward and why this differs from other people who are speaking about similar topics. We will talk about the different types of examples that you may give. You want to illustrate possibly with diagrams. You might make your own. You're going to find images to show. And you may introduce new case studies as well. Then we may want to discuss the methodology that this author or these authors are using. How reliable, how valid are their approaches? And finally, we will lead a discussion. And in order to do this, you will probably want to be somewhat provocative. Context requires some research. Since this is the first text which needs to be presented in 2 days, let's use Yap-Ming Liu's text as an example. So here you have the front matter, which gives you a whole range of different information. You've got the author's name, you've got the date that it was published. Here, if we look at the contents page, we can see that this is chapter 3 of a more expansive book. It may be that you choose to tell us about this, because actually there are other chapters here which give us different contexts and different ideas. Do you think you need to read these other chapters? Is it necessary? Is it helpful? Is it useful for us? So now to look outside of the text. Can you find the author's bio? Yes, we can. So if we do a search for Dr. Yap-Ming Liu, we can find a university bio, which is going to be fairly reliable. We can see here that Liu is an architect, urbanist, and architectural historian. So we have some information here about their discipline and the terminology that they may be using. We can see that this is a Malaysian-born scholar who currently is based in the UK. So we can probably infer from this that they have some first-hand cultural experience of all of the cultures being discussed in this reading. Here, we can see that their main research focus is to explore ways of connecting cultural identity, architecture, and globalization with decolonization in envisaging intercultural and post-colonial urbanism. There's a lot of different terminology here, and you need to make a decision about what you need to tell us about these terms. Can you find a talk or interview from the author? Yes, we can. So if you search on Google or you search on YouTube, you can find that there is at least one talk here that it may be useful for you to watch and gain more information from. Now, to discuss the date and location. Liu's book was published in 2013. You have to ask yourself, is this a significant date? Well, it's 56 years after Malaysian independence, which is one of the key themes of the book as a whole and also in the reading we're doing. Developments in post-colonial theory have probably happened since this time, and have perspectives changed? So you have to think about significant moments, in this case, critical theory, which may influence the way that we think and talk about this research on an ongoing basis. So there are various phrases that you can use whilst you're presenting. For example, Lou is writing at a time when. He is known for post-colonial. He is a Malaysian-born architect, and his insights are, and you can finish these sentences with information that you have found, and you can apply these to all of the different readings and authors that you'll be talking about at the GSD. You then have to select different context which you would like to give us. So, for example, you could say, around 1874, the British. By 2013, we know that. And since 2013, things have changed in various ways. Make sure that in your presentation you complement the text with your own context research. So here we have a selection of different images, and you can see there are diagrams, there are primary sources, there are statistics, there are photographs which are pulled from the text itself, and other kinds of contextualizing images like maps, diagrams, and aerial photographs. So how do we handle key concepts? So early on in your presentation, you will want to summarize the author's argument. Try and put this into one sentence, such as, Lou states that colonial architecture in Kuala Lumpur was a tool for ... As mentioned, every article which is written is trying to do something new or interesting. What is the original offering here? This paper is, for example, the first to do what? This paper may be the most in-depth example of something. What might that be? Is Lou introducing new terms, such as associative colonialism or the panoptical view? Did Lou create these terms, or do they have legacies of their own? Associative colonialism, for example, is described by Lou as operating within a spirit of collaboration and association, rather than conquer and reform. This was translated into the urban form by positioning of the government offices close to the existing town. And here on the right, we can see the map that Lou used, and these things can be made more legible by outlining in red, for example. So what is a panoptical view? This may require a little more research on your behalf to find out what it is and how to present it to us. Lou discusses a panoptical view which refers to Jeremy Bentham's panopticon, and here we have an image of a panopticon within Illinois State Penitentiary. So why did he use this term? Well, Lou uses the panoptical view to discuss surveillance, typology, and the use of topology in urban form and architecture. In his argument, verticality and surveillance is used as a form of control. You may want to add some background concepts. You can decide what the audience needs telling. You can pull terms from your context research as well. This can frame the entire presentation depending on how you explain them, when you explain them, and what you decide to explain. Do you think, for example, that your audience needs an explanation of what race means? Do you think that they may need an explanation of what whiteness is, or colonization, perhaps decolonization? Thinking about the audience, they probably know what architecture is, and also globalization. Moving on to examples and methodology. So when we're dealing with diagrams, we actually have a very short amount of time in these presentations to explain quite complex things. So I would suggest making sure that you do it as clearly as possible. Here we can see that something is indicated at A and B and C. However, if we highlight these, it makes it a lot clearer and a lot quicker to understand what is being discussed. We can also discuss the sources that the author has used. Does Lou mainly analyse case studies? And if so, what type are they? Does he have a mixture of primary sources and secondary sources? Well, we know that he uses colonial planning documents. There are maps, there are photographs and architectural drawings. Are there government records shown? And can you show those in your presentation? What kind of secondary scholarship is being used? Well, here we can see the panopticon has been discussed, and you can present that. What do you think about these sources? Are they timely? Are they outdated? Have things changed since this article was written? Try to use a range of evidence to tell the whole story. Can you build a narrative for us? Give varied and relevant examples, such as maps and urban form, photographs of typologies, floor plans, portraits, animated GIFs perhaps. You could even make your own diagrams and your own renderings. Okay, time for a bonus round. So what does your professor think about these topics and ideas and even this paper? Every text in your reading list is there for a reason. They probably had to narrow down from 100 different texts and select these ones. So there's absolutely some motivating factor for this text being here. Has your professor written a book about this topic? Does it fit into their theoretical approach, or does it contrast with it? How does it fit alongside the other texts which you have been set? Is there a theme for the week, for example? It's a good idea not to get caught by surprise. If you know something about what your professor thinks about these texts, it will make it a lot easier to discuss it, and you're less likely to get surprise questions. Moving on to the discussion. So in theory, the discussion portion is very straightforward. You have to find a way to get everyone talking. Now, in practice, that is not an easy thing to do a lot of the time. What can you do to help yourself out? First of all, you can give your opinion. Do you agree with the text? Do your classmates agree with the text, and do they agree with your understanding and interpretation of the text? If you disagree, there can be some backwards and forwards. Maybe it gets a little bit heated. That's actually interesting. That's kind of what we're here for. Do you think that the author may be biased in some way? Is there something about the research that you did about them which makes you think that they may be having certain feelings and thoughts about something that you may not actually agree with? You can ask questions about how historical cases relate to today's world. For example, who benefits from preserving colonial buildings today? Are they useful? Can architecture as a discipline ever truly be decolonized anyway? Do you think that cities still racialize space today? And can you give examples of that? You can even do thought experiments. What might a decolonized urban space look like? Beyond this, you can do small activities to engage people's imagination. For example, could you do a 2 or 3 minute very relevant drawing task, for example? Could you do a quiz or a short game or another way to get people engaged? Possibly one of the easiest ways to extend the conversation is to suggest your own case studies or similar case studies. So we know, having read this chapter, that a large portion of the discussion is about Chinatown. Okay, so there are a lot of different Chinatowns, and we have a very international group to discuss this with. How might a Chinatown in London, in the UK, for example, fare against the discussion points that Lou makes about Kuala Lumpur? What about Incheon Chinatown, for example? What about similar but different conditions, such as Little Italy in the US, for example? This can allow you to change the scale of the discussion. Is this a global phenomenon which is being discussed, or is it a really localized thing? In conclusion, be a detective. Show as much context as you think you need to make your topic legible and to make it engaging. Pull the key points and make sure you explain them in a clear way. Show us images and diagrams which allow us to build a kind of narrative in our head. Give multi and varied examples and let us know what your thoughts are on these topics as well. This is another way to get us really engaged. And finally, get us curious with discussion questions. Make sure that these are open and interesting. You can put them either throughout the presentation or you can put them all together in a list at the end. I hope that this has been useful and good luck planning your presentation.